Hello my disciples, Father Andrew here, coming back at you hot and heavy with another episode of Character Cross Section. This time we're talking about the Postal dude, how all three versions of him compare, and a few other things. And with that, now to slip and slide straight into this like
your mother.
Starting at the very beginning of the timeline with Postal and Postal Redux, we have the original Postal dude. Personality wise, as far as the first game and Redux go, he's nothing more than a homicidal psychopath driven by his delusions. Said delusion being that everyone in paradise has gone mad, which would logically seem to stem from paranoid schizophrenia, but canonically seems to be due to demonic influence, which is a massive part of the Postal timeline we'll be explaining later. Regardless, his motive for the massacre, he genuinely believes that he's acting in self-defense and that those he's killing are trying to attack him. However, it's revealed in the ending that he's just insane and that it's all in his head.
It's all in the head, oh my god.
The diary entries between each level go into this in far more detail, showing his worldview and what he genuinely believes is happening. Each one clearly showcasing just how mentally unwell the first game's dude is. But despite that, there's not much else to talk about with the first game. Redux, on the other hand, seems to be the events of the main first game repeating in his head. Or at least the ending of the first game seems to imply this.
However much his atrocities disgust us, he may actually consider himself a hero. This is common among those who, in the popular slang, go postal. In his tortured mind, he may feel that he's battling against impossible odds. It is not unusual for such individuals to believe that the entire fate of the world rests with them. In the end, our subject displayed all the classic symptoms of paranoid delusion.
In his tortured mind, he may feel he was battling against impossible odds, combined with the fact that he's detained under the fact that he's still suffering from these delusions. Hence why they say in the end our subject displays all the classic symptoms of a paranoid delusion, implying that he's still displaying symptoms. Therefore he's still in the delusion, so chances are it's repeating in his head. And with that, in summary, Postal 1 dude is a delusional psychopathic killer who thinks everyone's out to get him. Said delusion clearly being caused by some kind of demonic influence, which we'll get to when it comes to the other Postal dudes. Speaking of which, moving on to the Postal 2 dude. Postal 2's dude is very different. Instead of being a raging psychopathic killer, he's an antisocial and reclusive loner, who just likes to mind his own business. And while he does show some psychotic tendencies, the amount of it he shows completely depends on how you, the player, actually decide to play. At his best, he's unflattering, sarcastic, and generally an asshole. And at his worst, he's extremely psychotic, doesn't seem to care about anyone at all, and is either completely indifferent or likes to joke about what he's doing. Saying things like, "It's like bowling, only cooler," sarcastically saying phrases like, "Have a nice day," or talk to himself in a manner like, "Edged weapons, someone could lose a limb, yeah," or even moments of cold self-reflection, "Guns don't kill people, I do." But regardless of which path you take playing, completely psychotic or completely pacifist or some mix of both, Postal dude loves his dog Champ without question. Yeah, he can be an asshole, kicking Champ when Champ pissed on him, but he is willing to go to great lengths to save his dog. In fact, in the DLC for Postal 2, Paradise Lost, Postal dude goes down to hell to save his dog. Said dog first being turned into a giant demon dog who you have to defeat in the boss fight and then shrink back down to normal size, and then he has to save Champ from his ex-wife who's been turned into a giant hell demon and escape hell. But then there's the question, which version of Postal dude's personality in Postal 2 is canon? Is it the psychotic gameplay or is it the pacifist? Well, if the psychotic path is truly canon, Postal dude at the end of Paradise Lost would then take out the other faction leaders, which is something you can do, and rule over Paradise. But doing this stops Postal 4 and Brain Damaged from happening, but he never leaves Paradise. And considering those games are canon, that means the psychopath ending is not canon. Therefore, the pacifist route has to be the canon way the timeline works. And with that, we can summarise Postal 2's dude, and Paradise Lost's dude, because they're both the same person, as canonically just being an antisocial asshole. And with that, now we can move on to Postal 3's dude. But instead of doing an actual full-on character breakdown of him like I just did with Postal 1 and 2 dude, we're going to address the fact that he, throughout the game series, is the icon of the demon that is responsible for Postal 1 dude's massacre and appears to be influencing the Postal 2 dude. He's also non-canon because a cutscene at the beginning of Paradise Lost confirms that the events of Postal 3 were just a nightmare.
Trapped in the inky blackness of his mind, the dude suffers terrifying, frightful images of a future gone wrong.
I regret nothing.
He awakens with a shock. It was all just a horrible nightmare.
And he appears as the antagonist in Postal Brain Damaged, representing the Postal Dude's problems, specifically the demon in his head that motivates him to do the horrible things that you're capable of doing in the second game.
I'm like a fucking Jungian persona, a cancer at the back of the head, the demon that won't let you sleep at night.
No way.
Yes, way, all that time. I was playing with myself. You too. You see, you cannot cancel me. Whenever you try to forget about me or just dismiss my existence, I grow stronger, mightier. We've had this conversation many, many times, and each time I only grow stronger.
I mean, you can literally see the Postal 3 dude being used as an avatar by the demon throughout Paradise Lost, which the name of that DLC alone is a reference to some stuff in the Bible. In fact, the Postal franchise has a lot of biblical subtext, especially the fact that hell is a canonical thing. In fact, it's not just canonical, it's a physical location. But regardless, Postal 3's dude is a literal icon and manifestation of the demon that has motivated the first dude to go on his killing spree and is now trying to influence the second dude. Well, more accurately, tried and failed to influence the dude, and he failed in the events of Postal Brain Damage, which led to him taking a new form in Postal 4, which we're going to get to in a minute. Brain Damage being set after Postal Paradise Lost. And now with that, we can summarize the Postal 3 dude as just being a physical manifestation of the demon throughout the series. And with that, now we can move on to Postal 4, where I can clarify a few things. Firstly, we know the Postal 1 dude is not the Postal 2 dude, because in Postal 4 it's confirmed through the final boss that the final boss is the first game's dude and is the biological father of the second game's dude. The grave that the Postal dude pisses on in the second game is his stepdad, not his biological father.
Trailer home ended.
It's time I formally introduced myself to you.
Son, I am your
Father, yeah, I got that when you said son. Hang on a second. Aren't you supposed to be dead?
Are you referring to your stepfather?
Huh, yeah. I guess that does explain the grave thing.
And second of all, we know the demon finally takes a physical form because of this in the pacifist ending.
In our case, almost as if someone out there was looking out for us all along. Hell, you might say that maybe, just maybe, our guardian angel was watching over us. Huh? What was that? Ah, forget it. Come on, little buddy, let's hightail it out of here.
The noise that thing made is a callback to the original Postal, tying it back to the demon that influenced the protagonist of Postal 1. There's even more to this, but we'll get to that in a minute. Anyway, regarding the Postal 4 dude personality and character-wise, he's only as violent as the player wants him to be. And personality-wise, he still has a similar attitude to how he was in Postal 2, albeit he seems to be notably less psychotic, probably as a result of his brain damage healing over time. If anything, I'd say he's pretty much the same as he was in Postal 2, albeit just less psychotic. And with that, that's the Postal 4 version of the dude. And now with the dudes covered, now we can talk about the demon, the main antagonistic driving force of the Postal timeline. And I'm going to be using this timeline graph to explain it. Firstly, we know from its design and the fact that hell is canonical in the Postal universe that this is clearly a fallen angel, evident by the black wings, humanoid form, and the glowing eyes, and the fact it very clearly ties back to Postal 1 with the noises it makes in Postal 4. And in fact it also manifests in the head of Postal 2's dude as the Postal 3 dude. Another thing that ties into this is the sky in the pacifist ending changing into the loading screen for the elementary school. This implies that the pacifist ending is taking the Postal dude to what will be the canonical ending for his character, whatever Postal 5 will be. And the reason the Postal dude is given his camper van for free in the pacifist ending is because he's managed to maintain his free will against the demon's command. And much like how the demons disobeyed God, getting them cast out from heaven, I theorize that the demon sees this in the Postal dude and is why it rewards him with his camper van for free. Also, I'ma be for real, I oppose Satanism that actively embraces free will and individuality thing should be in massive fucking quotation marks. Sounds like a bunch of heretical nonsense to me. I'll also just disclose now the Scarlet Queen does not take kindly to Satanism, but regardless, that's beside the topic. Considering that the pacifist roots of the game are most likely canon, that means the Postal 2 dude is incredibly mentally durable and able to fight off the demon's influence, which is exactly what it wanted. All of this being probably so that the Postal dude can be used by the demon to take down whatever it wants taken down. What exactly that is, we don't know, but we do know that the demon wants the Postal dude as a way to accomplish something. because both the Postal 1 dude and the demon's influence are all trying to push for the same thing, to kill people based on some kind of sickness, some kind of problem the demon sees. But until we get Postal 5, we're not going to find out what that is. Also, for a bit of context, this whole graph is the Postal games in chronological story order. I am very aware that I jumped over the symbolism of Postal Dude's fears and anxieties represented by Postal brain damage, but the majority of them have no real bearing on the story, and a lot of them are quite generic, just fears and problems he has. Except the giant nurse enemy, who is a reference to the nurse we see in the cutscene at the beginning of the Apocalypse Weekend. And with that, now to summarise this whole thing. Postal 1's dude is a raging psychopathic maniac driven by demonic influence. Postal 2's main character is his son, who is also being afflicted by the same demon, albeit is strong-willed enough to resist it. Postal 3's main character is just a physical manifestation of this demon, and Postal 4's protagonist is the same character from Postal 2, just older. The final boss of Postal 4 being his father from the first game. Postal brain damage is all in the head, and him overcoming his personal demons, the demon specifically, and the demon is technically the main antagonist, but now that I think about it, it's basically just a plot device to push the plot forward. The demon itself doesn't actually have much character, but that might change with Postal 5 if that ever happens. And with that, I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Character Cross Section. I know this one came across as quite schizophrenic, but I'm going to be honest, the Postal timeline is incredibly hard to follow and organise in a meaningful way. I also had an absolute blast talking about this because honestly the Postal franchise is some of my favourite games. But yeah, with that, see you next time, have a nice time, good day or night. Remember to keep your room clean, keep your area around you tidy, just stay healthy. Love you all, good night.